Oh yeah. Welcome to Africa Market Report. You are actually with me, Yusuf, the host of the Daily Money Market. So, all right, now, each and every week or in 2 weeks, we actually bring, a market report about Africa and what exactly is going on in Africa at the moment. So, right now, if you look at it, we are actually looking at if you look the map of Africa, the one that we are looking at, it's actually indicating different countries and how the different stock exchange is performing. So you can see in terms of Egypt, they are actually gaining by the end of today, 1.19% in terms of gain from a stock exchange of Egypt. When you look all the way to, Burkina Faso, they're on a loss, 0.14% dropping. Ghana, they're on again, which is 0.22% today, all the way when it goes all the way to East Africa, moving to Southern Africa, we see Kenya, 0.4%, Tanzania, negative 0.25% in terms of Tanzania Stock Exchange. We're seeing Malawi sitting at positive plus 16% growth, to Botswana 0.03% in terms of growth. That comes from Botswana, Namibia, all the way, and South Africa. They're actually, sitting on a loss in terms of Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So yeah, that's a layout in terms of how the stock exchange is sitting at the moment in Africa. So moving on. Okay. All right. Moving on in terms of the news, how exactly is actually looking in terms of Africa market report. We are seeing actually, in a Malawi Stock Exchange, the annual market performance report that comes at the end of 2023. In the year 2023, the market transacted at a total 612 and 612,184,956 shares at a total consideration of MK, which is Malawi kwacha of 77,207,000 and which converted to in terms of United States dollar 66,848,878 in 10.73 trades in the corresponding period of 2022. So that's like the annual report in terms of how stock exchange of Malawi are actually performing. The best one that actually performing very, very good and brings the very good report, it's Botswana Stock Exchange, which is the market performance 1st of January to 31st of December 2023. During the period of 1st of Jan to 31st of December 2023, the domestic company index DCI appreciated by 15.6% in comparison to increase of 10.2% during the corresponding period of 2022 and the domestic as well. So we can see in terms of Botswana Stock Exchange again, their DCI index, goes all the way up to 15.6%. So again, this is just, a stock exchange that you can, you can see from different region in actually Africa. Number one sitting there, it's in Botswana, DCI, which is it's 8.916 as an index level price there, the gain of 0.12% by the end of today. Coming on Burkina Faso, Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Mauritius, Morocco, Namibia, Nigeria, Rwanda, South Africa, Tanzania, Tunisia, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, which is also Zimbabwe sitting at 33.86 gain, in terms of local price of week term retained. So that's how the market performance overview in terms of Africa market report. But again, goes all the way to Nigeria Stock Exchange. So we're in Nigeria Stock Exchange. On the last trading day of the week, the Nigeria Stock Exchange All Share Index recorded 2.87% gain as it appreciated by 2,641.15 points, close at 94.538, 0.12 points. Trading was ready by swaps such as Splate and BUA Cement, which gained 10% apiece, while Dangote Cement gained 9.98%, which is Dangote, one of the biggest companies we see spreading all over, Africa. Similar to the ASI equities, gain on Naira 1.445 trillion Naira, at the market cap appreciated to 51.73 trillion Naira from yesterday at 50.29 trillion Naira. This week, the Nigeria Stock Exchange has recorded one of its high ever weekly gain with the appreciated of 13.8% in a single week in terms of gain. The week's performance has contributed to NGX, Nigeria Stock Exchange year-to-data returns of 26.4%. There was also 25.9% decline in the trading volume to 844.49 million Naira units from yesterday, 1.14 billion units, and there was a 22% decline in the trading value to 15.04 billion Naira from yesterday to 19.29 million Naira from yesterday. So we saw there from Nigeria Stock Exchange showing a little bit of growth. The biggest growth there, if they see, it's actually 13.8% in a single week, which is really, really good when it comes, when a major stock exchange from that specific region is growing, it actually showing the stability or the comfortability of actually, the specific country in terms of the economic goods, GDP, consumer price index, and so on. All right, moving on Access Bank. So Access Bank to acquire 80% stake in Uganda Finance Trust Bank. So Access Bank, it's one of the bank in East Africa and West Africa as well. Access Holding has announced that its flagship subsidiary, Access Bank, has entered into definitive agreement with the Uganda-based Financial Trust Bank, FTB, and its selling institute shareholders for acquisition of majority equity stake in FTB. This was contained in a notice to a Nigerian Exchange Limited, the investment public, and made available to Nairametrics. The deal will also see Access Bank concurrently acquiring the shares currently held by FTB Institute shareholder who have a side to exit to strategic long-term share price. So we see the Access Bank going all the way, taking the shares from one of the bank in Uganda, which is FTB, Finance Trust Bank, buying the majority share price, becoming one of the guys in a majority share price. So when I go through the story, they were very excited because of their extending their presence in Africa, in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa, so that, a lot of people can now be able to use Access Bank and they can continue doing the deals. And we're going to see how Uganda is going. It's already start benefiting from this deal that is just actually, happened. The other story that actually, caught my attention, it's a bright export outlook will buy a Zambian growth in 2024. So this is actually the GDP growth. We focus that the Zambian real GDP growth will accelerate from an estimated 3.5% in 2023 to 4.8% in 2024. While improving investors' sentiment and a higher copper price will support a fixed investment growth, elevate inflation and tight credit condition will weigh on a private consumption, We also focus that in 2025, the economic growth also will be able to grow. So we're seeing the GDP growth of 3.5% in 2023 to 4.8% this year, 2024. So that's Zambia. They expecting the growth about their GDP in Zambia. So accelerating loan and deposit growth for Ugandan banks. So that's the story of Access Bank because of the buy majority share price of FTB, Finance Tech Bank. So now they're pumping a lot of money in the bank so that a lot of people can be able to start getting loans. And already the banks in Uganda, they're already expecting the growth in terms of the deposit account. So the key point there to take is we anticipate the Uganda deposit growth will increase slightly from 13.3% year to year at the end of 2023 to 14% at the end of 2024. We also think that clients' loan will grow with increase from 8.5% to 12.0% over the same period. A higher capital requirements, which will come into effect in June, will once again be a key concern facing the bank in 2024. So yeah, already Uganda benefiting in terms of, when the Access Bank or Access Holdings buy the share price to one of the major banks there. So moving on to Blantyre, which is Malawi. We say the one of the news that also caught the attention is that, so this is really, concern news about these World Bank's approval of money or International Monetary Fund's approval of money. We're gonna see again another story like this, and it really, really touched my attention, and it really, bothers me that where exactly are we going, in terms of borrowing money all the time from these big banks, and then they'll be able now to own us. So each and every person who's going to work from those specific region, their tax is going to pay, whether World Bank or whether International Monetary Funds. But think about it, you're working, you thought maybe the money that you are actually, working is gonna be based to your kids or your grandchildren, but it goes to International Monetary Fund. So yeah, it's actually cooking in terms of the World Bank, but it says on December 13, the World Bank has approved 137 million of budget support for Malawi, with an immediately disbursement of $80 million, the bank said in their statement that they make. So they made a little bit of statement and they approved $137 million that, you know, is going to go all the way to the Malawian authorities. The funding will help also in the Southern Africa countries enhance the fiscal sustainability, stimulation as well, stimulate the private sector, lead growth, and increase resilience to the stocks, with the World Bank said. After the initial 80 million, the remaining $57 million can be triggered in the event of the crisis. In adding, the support comes as a Malawi battles chronic foreign currency shortages that have led to the lack of fuel, medicine, and fertilizers for the farmers. So actually, Malawi devalued the kwacha currencies by 30% against the dollar last month, which is really, really horrible. To be honest, in terms of how things are actually happening that side. And as well, the most horrible part is taking money from, what bank? Of course, it's gonna save, but it's a challenge. It's a really a challenge. So, right, jumping on in another topic, OPEC December oil output rises before the new cuts. Angola exit routes. In London, Jan 5, the OPEC December oil output rises by the 70,000 BPD from November to 27.8 million BPD ahead of 2024 cuts Angola exit. So I think the BPD or per barrel, all right. So the OPEC oil output rose in December. Reuters survey found on a Friday as increase in Iraq and Angola and Nigeria offset ongoing cuts by the Saudi Arabia and other members of the World OPEC alliance to support the market. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries pumped 27.88 million barrels per day last month. The survey found up to 70,000 BPD from November, output in down more than 1 million BPD from the same month a year ago. So actually, if we see it, the story, it actually getting hectic is because of, the geopolitics that is happening in Saudi and now forcing all these countries that they have oil like Nigeria to actually increasing their PPD on pumping oil, so that they can be able to feed the supplier of the whole nation or the whole world, if I may say. Another news of World Bank approve a new Tanzania loan of 1.14 billion. And another one we can see down there, IMF release $187 million to Zambia payout. This is not good. This is really, really, a horrible story, to be honest, because all these monies, the taxpayers of those specific region, they have to pay these. Instead of that money that they're paying tax can develop their region for their kids or for their grandchildren. But now, even their grandchildren, they'll continue paying, because the more you're paying now, you run out of money. When you run out of money, you go back and borrow the money. World Bank approves the new Tanzanian loans, 1.14 billion. Again, the World Bank has approved two separate loans worth about 1.14 billion, combining to Tanzania to support its private sector, develop its commercial capital, and fight effects of climate change. The bank said the first step of financing worth it 750 million, called development policy financing, is meant to finance a reform such as making a business license faster and also broaden the access to cheap credit to accelerate the private sector growth. The bank said in a statement late on a Wednesday, which is last week, Wednesday. The second lot of 385 million will go towards the finance infrastructure and also building institution that will help Tanzania and the commercial capital Dar es Salaam to cope with the effects of the climate change. And that's what the bank said. So I don't understand all this, they're blamed for climate change. So you see all these countries, they're taking money, and the IMF and the World Bank, they're releasing money in the name of climate change. When we look at the story of Malawi, they're saying the other $50 billion will be kept when there's any type of financial crisis. So obviously they know that places like Malawi, they always have, some cyclone at any time, floods are coming in, natural disasters that does come in. So, they always blame on the climate change that, we need to change how we manufacturing goods. Maybe this is what is affecting our climate change, to have all this cyclone and so on and so forth. That is why they are pumping this money to make sure that we continue with the route of climate change. We saw again on in Tanzania, half of the money, it goes on infrastructure, building, developing a policy of financing so that the people can be able to, to get a business license approval faster. And the other half, it goes to the cheap credit, accelerating private sector growth. The other money, climate change. So it's crazy how actually, it's happening here in homeland in Africa. IMF again released 187 million Zambia payout. So we're seeing another story from Malawi. The Malawi to restrict forex transaction after currency devalued. So Malawi will restrict foreign currency transaction and crack down on the black market dealers after devaluing its currency last week. The finance minister said on Monday, the Southern Africa country devalued the kwacha currency by 30% against the dollar from the last Thursday, saying it was needed to collect a supply-demand imbalancing in the currency market. The finance minister, Chichola Banda, said on Monday that cash sales of foreign currency by bank and other authorities authorized the dealers would be limited to actually $2,000 with immediate effect. The policy and other security agencies will prosecute a black market forex dealers, and he told a news conference. So this black markets forex dealers, it's really, really big, business for people in other countries. If you actually travel, goes all the way to Africa, every place where you actually pass the border, there's guys there doing the black market of exchanging forex currencies, whether you have dollars, whether you have rands, whether you have pula, kwacha, you'll be able to get exchanged and in a fair price range. Compare even the banks. When you go to banks, you see that, okay, you're getting a little bit lesser, but when you're actually in a street and, exchanging to these guys, you're getting a little bit more. So people, they were not going to the bank. I mean, you leave the Office of Foreign Exchange where when you are at the border and go to these guys and exchange your money, get your currency for wherever you are going, while these guys of foreign exchange, they're supposed to put their price a little bit higher than the local dealers so that people can stop going to the local dealers. They can now go to the, banks and so on. All right. So here's another story again that we're seeing. Tanzania withdraw the approval of for Kenya Airways flights. So Tanzania withdraw the approval of Kenya's Airways airline. So Tanzania has withdrawn the approval of Kenyan national carrier Kenya Airways, KONA, to operate flight between the Kenya capital, Nairobi, and all the way to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. The commercial capital, its Civil Aviation Authority said on Monday. So Tanzania said the decision was taken in the retaliation for Kenya denies of the rights to Tanzanian national carrier Air Tanzania to operate in a cargo flight between the two countries. In a statement, the Tanzania Civil Aviation Authority said it decided to decide the approval of for Kenya Airways to operate passengers flight between the Nairobi and Tanzania. However, in a separate statement posted on X platform late on Monday, the Kenyan and Tanzanian foreign ministers said both countries would work together to solve this issue within 3 working days. We have jointly agreed that our respectively civil aviation authorities will work together to have the matter resolved amicably within the next 3 days. There should therefore be no cause to alarm for foreign ministers who said Musalia Mudavadi. That's the foreign minister from Tanzania. Yeah, man, the crisis from Tanzania and Kenya, these guys, they always crash. I don't know because of their neighbors or what, but they always, all the time crashes in terms of the business policies or business understanding from one area to another. So here's another crash. The Tanzanians, the Kenyan decline Tanzanian Airways for the cargo route, and now Tanzania retaliate to say that we are withdrawing the approval of Kenyan national carrier to actually, fly between the Kenya to all the way Dar es Salaam. So that's what actually, it's cooking in terms of Africa market report. We just wanted to touch base in terms of few things that is actually happening in Africa market report at the moment. So yeah, man, we do appreciate for actually watching this video. Thank you very much, and subscribe. And again, you can share with other Africans to see what's going on in Africa.